Situations host Public. To my right is my man Core. In front of me is my man Victory.
Hey.
And to my left is my homie Black of Thought.
Black.
So we're going to talk about a topic that hits home. Are black men ready to settle down? Are black men ready to be married?
Are men afraid to commit?
Are men in general, not necessarily black men, but just men in general, commit? Let's start off. Are we ready to commit? What do you think, Core?
No, I think as far as committing, I think it all depends because if you start off at a young age settling down, you get to the point where you settle down at 18, 19, you get married, you have a couple of kids, and you kind of get stuck in that rut.
Yeah.
At 18, 19?
Good point, man.
Yeah, like you get married
You
or
start early.
Right, you start off early,
Where?
But then
Everywhere.
or on the flip side, you do your thing, you go out, you party, you club, you bang, 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 air out, and then here you are in your 30s and 40s, and then you meet somebody who's willing to build with you and grow with you, but you're so used to that lifestyle of clubbing and doing your thing, you're kind of afraid.
Yeah.
And I think there's kind of like a two-sided door to it. And I know a lot of men have always said, why get the milk if I can why get the cow if I can get the milk for free? Stuff like that. So I think it all depends on, your background, where you come from. And I just think it all depends on your life experiences, because I know a lot of guys, they've been hurt before, so they become jaded. And when a good woman wants to come along and wants to settle down, they're like, I'm straight. They kind of like throw their hands up and kind of back off.
So you basically, Core, what you're saying that you're blaming the men for not wanting to settle down.
I blame the men, but I also blame women too, because I think women have too high of expectations, or I think you've had men who've been hurt in the past, so they become jaded and don't want to bother to settle down. So they just figure, I'd rather do what I'm doing and not get myself caught up, because I don't want a repeat or a three-peat of what happened previously.
Okay. So, Black of Thought, what do you think about that?
I like what Court, put out, because I think there are times, a lot of men don't want to be put in that situation where, they might be hurt. They are jaded. I've been through that myself. I'm in my early 30s now, and I'm I don't want to call myself single, because I talk to women who, I guess think they're my girlfriends and stuff like that. I'm just being real. You know what I mean? And I think I don't commit because I don't want to be hurt. I don't want to put my whole self out there. And it's not a good thing, because I'm getting to that age now where I'm like, I need to settle down. I need to build a stable life for myself.
Yeah.
So I am afraid to commit.
Yeah.
And I think we are afraid to commit. African American men, white men, Chinese men, we are afraid to commit because we run into situations where, listen, we've given ourselves at one point in time, wholeheartedly as young men. Yeah. And nothing has come of it.
So you're saying, is that something that's instilled in you to not want to commit, or it's just by your experience alone?
It's just experiences, man. I think everybody's experiences. You've tasted some really ugly situations, and you're like, what, I can't do it again.
Yeah,
I can't do it again, or if I'm going to do it again, I have to be very sure about the person. I gotta be in the right situation. I gotta this has to be right. This has to be right, and that might be wrong, because nothing is ever right in life.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Get yourself in that mind.
But you get yourself in the mind, and by the time you know it, time is moving on, and you've lost out. So it's not a good thing, but at the same time, you want to be very careful of what you do and who you do it with, and that's where I think I am in my life.
Okay, I hear what you're saying, Black of Thought. So now, Victory. Listen to what Core Black of Thought said. What's your input on this whole situation?
Are men really afraid to commit?
Yes.
Well, it depends. I think it depends on the station a particular man is in his life.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I think there's a general consensus in this society here, that men are afraid to commit. That's like this generally accepted thought process about men.
Yep.
We don't want to commit, we're afraid to commit. And I don't think that's true. I don't think that's necessarily true in a lot of cases. Granted, there are some men who are afraid to commit because for whatever reason, they feel there's this fear that they might get hurt, as expressed by Black Earth Thought and Core, or maybe they don't want to commit because they're not ready to, because they want to still play the field, or maybe, I don't know, they feel it may be difficult for them to give up their independence, so to say.
Do you think women put too much high expectations? I'm
not finished. So, with regards to, like, I think there's different factors, man. I mean, it's not really cut and dry. Because as men, we're kind of groomed to kind of get ourselves together first.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I think that's what plays into this when it comes to being, there's certain things instilled in you as a man. Like, okay, as a man, it's important for you, in order to feel, cross that rites of passage and feel like a man, like, you have to become accomplished. You have to achieve your goal. And at that point, when you achieve your goal, then you can bring on a committed relationship and put your time and energy and focus into that, as opposed to, finding someone first and working with that person while you build your goal. I mean, some men find that difficult to do both at the same time. It's like, well, I got to do this first, and then I got to get committed. You know what I mean? Yeah. Because relationships are a lot of work. Let's believe it or not. It's not easy to be in a relationship. It does require work, because you have to make time for the person. You have to spend time, and if you're a very driven person and you're trying to achieve goals,
you're gonna take that person for granted.
You may take that person for granted. You may not be able to spend the time they want you to spend with them, and they might feel neglected and things. So you can't give yourself to the relationship. So a lot of times men feel like, well, generally speaking, of course, men feel like, well, look, I can't give my all to this. I'm trying to work on myself. I'm trying to build this empire here, trying to get this job, career thing going and make money. And then, at that point, once I accomplish that, and, once certain, things are set in motion and I've established certain things in myself, then I can worry about a relationship and work on that. But juggling both of them at the same time, I think a lot of men just kind of feel they can't do that.
So let me ask you this question, Victory. Are you scared to commit?
No, man. I really think scared and fear, those are some strong words, man, because that kind of connotates some kind of like, aversion, some irrational aversion to relationships, and I can't agree with that, man. I don't like the term scared and feared.
So let's dumb it down for the audience. Meaning like, fear is a reaction. It's an emotion, dog. You know what I'm saying? It's an emotion based on some kind of, and a lot of times irrational or rational concerns. You know what I mean? And fear is something that a lot of times we can't control. And I don't think applying that to men when it comes to dating and relationships, I don't think that's fair to do that, because it kind of makes it seem like there's some kind of, I don't know, like,
there's nothing to fear about a relationship.
There's aversion to it. You know what I mean? Like this a weird aversion to a relationship. You're scared to commit. You know what I mean? There's a fear there. I don't think so.
Well, let me ask you this. To turn it to the left, what do you think would make a man afraid to commit? Say, for instance, he's been with a woman 2 years. They may even play the house thing. She moves in with him, he moves in with her. They've been together a couple of years, but then it's like, okay, where are we going from here? And the man all of a sudden pumps his brakes. It's like, well, so what do you think would make a man afraid to commit to a woman?
So, Core, what you're saying is that you want to ask the question that, is there situations in life that would make a man not want to commit? Right. Is that your question?
Right. Like, what do you think would make a man afraid? So
in that particular, to answer your question, I mean, I think in that scenario there, I mean, when confronted with that situation by the woman, you're with a woman, you're playing dolly house, you live with her or whatever, you spend a lot of time, and then she finally said, look, Now, okay, before I even answer, define commitment to you. You mean marriage? Or you mean like just committed relationship?
No. So,
I need clarification on that.
Okay, in my opinion, I would say commitment mean marriage, because that way everything's established. Because you can always say, that's my girl, but at the same time, sometimes you could be going along and you don't really,
so then that,
you don't really need it.
So Black of Thought and Victory, since just piggyback over what Core said, and when you say dolly house, Victory, what do you mean by that?
When I say dolly house, all right, dolly house means like playing house. You're dating a woman, and you guys live together.
Yep. You know what I mean? And you do all the things that traditional couples in committed relationships do, but you're not necessarily committed.
Right.
You're just going through the motions, but there's no commitment there. There's no really established relationship. So that's what Dolly House means. There's no like.
What do you mean no established relationship?
Like there's no real
with the person.
You guys haven't ascertained that there's any future. You just kind of like taking it day by day. You live with each other, but you don't know if this person's gonna be your future. You're playing the role. You get it. You're doing the boyfriend girlfriend thing, but you're not really sure about her. Maybe she's sure about you, maybe not. But you're just kind of not sure. That's Dolly House.
Dangerous, yeah.
That's Dolly House.
So Black Thought. Let me, because you saw, you seem like you have some concern about that.
Yeah, I do, because I lived that life before.
You have. Okay, so in your experience, what are the positives and negatives about that situation?
Of living with a partner?
Right.
The positives is that you always have somebody to talk to. You have a friend always around, you know what I mean? So you never really feel lonely.
Okay.
Because a lot of human beings, we feel lonely. We think we're lonely when we're truly not, you know what I mean? So we think we need to have this other person around, you know what I mean? And I think a lot of us, a lot of men, we feel that we have to have a woman around, you know what I mean, in order to feel like whole or something like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We feel without a woman then you're not whole, man. But I think as men, he stated it before, we feel as though we also have to get our education right before we get a woman also, you know what I mean? And I think about my experience, and I focus more on and I think every man should, I focus more on my education and where I thought I wanted to be in life, you know what I mean? Over focusing on a woman. But at the same time, it boils down to the education thing that we talked about earlier. With the education that I have and with the education other people have, a lot of times we end up with nothing. You know what I mean? We feel as though we're not where we want to be. So what should we focus on? Education or a relationship? We have to make there's a balance to the whole thing. I think a lot of the times we don't know how to balance that,
right?
And we don't know how to carry that, a relationship, and at the same time going after what we truly want in life, because in life we want to be happy, you know what I mean? Outside of the other person, we want to find happiness in ourselves, and we think that we're going to find that happiness in bringing somebody with us, but we truly want something of our own. You know what I mean? And I think if we know how to balance those things, maybe we can find it. But a lot of the times we don't.
Right.
So and relationships end badly because of that.
Right. And then it is all about that balance. And some men are able to juggle that. You know what I mean? Are able to balance having a relationship and nurturing that relationship, and at the same time pursuing their career and their dreams and their aspirations.
So
you know what I mean?
Victory. Let's talk about balance. What is your ideal balance in a relationship?
Well, I mean, in terms of in a relationship, you mean in relationship to like what do you mean exactly?
The whole Dolly House situation. So you're saying that?
Well, I don't believe. Well, me personally, I'm not really interested in cohabitation, man. That's not my thing.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? I mean, it works for some people, but for me, I don't really. I can't get down with that. I'm not knocking it, but
smart.
I'm just too independent for that. You know what I mean? I feel like, for me, I need my own space. There's sometimes I just want to come home and be by myself.
You don't worry about checking in with nobody.
I don't worry checking in with anybody. I don't, and it has nothing to do with, wanting to play a field or do anything like that. I just like my own space. I'm at a point where I just like my own space. There's sometimes I want to be alone. I want to come home. I don't have to think about it. I don't have to talk to anybody. I just come home, sit in my bed, or, do whatever the hell I got to do. And I don't necessarily want to come home to somebody. So for me, Dolly House doesn't work. You know what I mean? And, for a woman, though, it's like I'm pretty hard to deal with in that regard because, not every day I'm going to want to see her.
Right.
And it's nothing against that person or anything like that, but it's just sometimes you just want to go home and be by yourself, be in your own space.